So a little bit about who I am. So 3 key ideas we're going to talk about. First of all, just like what is HR? Then we'll talk a little bit about evaluations, performance evaluations. And lastly, about what to do about low performance. And when I say we'll talk about it, you'll talk about it, because your voices are going to be a big part of it. If everyone could, on their table, find a piece of paper, a packet of paper that looks like this. Everyone's going to need one of those, and if you don't have enough on your table, there should be enough on other tables to pass around and redistribute. We'll get to that pretty soon. Okay, so what is HR, or worker cooperative? This is, because I'm a generalist, I work with cooperative development sort of in a variety of areas, marketing, and finance, and HR. Often people say, well, what is such and such for worker cooperatives? Is it different? And the main difference when we look at HR for worker cooperatives is that cooperatives tend to think maybe they don't have to do HR, that maybe there's something like magical and special about cooperatives that just is sort of automatically happening. But often it's not automatically and magically happening. So it often involves many of the same things as regular businesses, things like training, orientations, compensation rates and payroll, things like giving legal advice, maintaining communication systems. Sometimes it's things like maintaining lockers and keys, or making sure you know like who has access to the van and who doesn't have access, sort of keeping track of individual things. It's a real grab bag. And often what happens for us in the business is that we look at all these things and we say, like, this is kind of stuff nobody wants to do. So who can we get to do this? Like, where can we tuck this into? Maybe there's an administrative manager, we'll make her do some of this work. Or maybe the board will make some of them do this work. Or maybe we just think that all the members will do it. We'll make every member do it. So from the business's perspective, it feels like a burden of things we have to tuck in different places. And for small organizations, usually there's not one person who is like the HR manager doing all of it in a coherent and comprehensive way. Let's see, I guess this is, can we turn off the lights up here? I know I opened the windows to wake everybody up a little bit, but it's possible to turn off the front lights. So what I want to say about this is that it looks very different to the worker's perspective. So they don't see it as kind of a grab bag of different things that they have to think about and allocate. They often think about it as their kind of life cycle through the organization. And if you can think about it that way, then I think it's easier to figure out, are we doing this well, or are we not doing this well, compared to the situation where you're just trying to like tuck the work in a variety of different corners and make sure that somebody has the responsibility. So from the worker's perspective, often they start as an applicant, they get hired, they move to an employee, then they kind of like get good at what they're doing, and finally they become an owner and beyond. They become a long-standing owner. And HR for them is whether they get helped along this journey or whether there are obstacles and burdens along this journey. So in some examples that we've heard today, for instance, you might have training and education programs that like help people get into the cooperative, or you may have a waiting list for your cooperative and make them go through a series of hurdles to make sure that you get the very best possible people. And when people set up their HR systems, when co-ops set up their HR systems, often they have no system, and then something bad happens, and then they set up one of these 2 systems. Like either they just can't keep people because people can't find their way into the co-op. They don't get what it is. It's too complicated. The voting system doesn't make any sense. And so they'll set up a lot of support systems to help people get into the cooperative. Or some bad people get into the cooperative that they don't want to be there, who are create toxic situations. And so they'll create pressure against folks for coming in, so that they don't end up with a situation where they have to terminate or remove a board member who's creating a lot of trouble. Let's see, go back. So what's interesting about this is it sort of resembles the benefits of democracy, which I always like to come back to as a cooperative advocate. So if you look at some sort of democratic theory, like why participatory democracy is important, why it's good, there are these 2 forces. On the one side, we have like public education system and libraries and all these kind of positive forces to uplift the citizenry into the best possible country. And on the other side, we have these kind of protections against some sinister element seizing control at the top. And the same thing is going on in the co-op. So if you can think of the co-op as sort of like a citizenry, then these 2 forces have to act on the people in the citizenry. You want to fill the co-op with the most educated, talented, empowered, best people, and you also want to protect the co-op from tyrants getting in there and making everything worse for everybody. You guys with me so far?
Yes.
Great. Okay, this seems to be auto-forwarding. I saw that happening to other people. I didn't think it would happen to me. Okay, so I can pause it. Okay, so this brings us to our first kind of interactive activity. So one of the things that Anne and Courtney and I have been doing is doing these interviews of different cooperatives to find out, like, just who does this work. Usually there's not one person. And so the first page of your packet are these kind of 8 squares of different things that can be involved in HR. They can find someone else who has a cooperative that is not your cooperative, and interview them and figure out who does these things, if anyone. So maybe no one is doing it, or maybe it's the whole membership, or maybe it's the board, or maybe it's some sort of manager or administrator. Just try to figure out for all 8 of these who is doing it. And then the sort of interesting thing, it is auto-forwarding. Very interesting. The thing we're looking for to kind of draw information out of here is, on the top row are the things that are sort of uplifting people into the membership, and on the bottom row are things that are sort of preventing sinister elements from getting in. And so as you're doing this, I want you to ask yourself, are we doing more of one of these than the other? Are we doing more uplift, or are we doing more sort of protection against bad actors? And then also, like, are we giving all the hardest stuff to one person, or are we kind of spreading out the work to all sorts of different people? So the only way that this interactive stuff can work is if we end in a real 10 minutes. So can I have your agreement that, like, when it's 10 minutes, we'll all wrap it up and come back to the conversation? Good. Okay. Great. So find a partner, and I'll set a timer for 10 minutes and see if you can fill it. And if you're a developer and you want to just sit in on one of these conversations, that could be good, or you could talk to another developer about their work if you want to too. Okay. All right, the second key idea here is about performance evaluations. So this is sort of a sticky issue, and there are a lot of co-ops that we interview that don't have any performance evaluations, and then some who wish that they did, and then some that kind of have robust systems for it. To think about this, I want to return to the sort of the virtuous circle of the cooperative. So if all goes well, there's a membership that can express their needs and desires. They can someone's engaging with them to figure out who are we, what do we want, what's our vision for the future. Do we want to push on the sector? Do we want guaranteed hours? Do we want flexibility? They express that to some entity like a board. And then that group creates a strategy for it and tells some entity like a manager or executive director or administrative coordinator or something what the strategy is, and that person tells the members to do their job. And if all goes well, then when someone comes up to you and says, do your job, and you think, that's great. If I do my job, I'll get my needs and desires met, because there's this positive circle going around the circle. Is that how you felt when I pointed at you? So, but at every stage, there has to be some level of evaluation as to whether this is working. So the members, the workers, someone should be evaluating them. Usually it goes sort of backwards around the circle. The management might be evaluating them. Then the management entity has to be evaluated. Usually it's the board evaluating them. And then somebody should be evaluating the board to see if they're doing their work. And usually that goes back to the members. So this is kind of a general framework, and again, we saw lots of entities that didn't feel they had the time or energy to invest in performance evaluations. Some of them were just getting evaluations from customers, and that's what they were basing things on, rather than kind of peer evaluations. But no matter what you do, there's sort of an overarching way to think about it, which is that in the middle you have these questions that you want to ask. Is the person committed to our mission? Are they a believer? Are they doing their job? Are they adequately satisfying job description? And often cooperatives are also asking, do they add to the culture? Are they the right fit here? Do they when they come to work, are people happy to work with them, and they add to the community? To be able to ask these questions effectively, you need to kind of go upstream and also downstream. You can't just ask the questions. You have to first of all figure out where are the standards. So you're testing someone against some sort of set standard. And it may be that the standard is just kind of an informal thing in your mind, and then as new people come in and you test the standard to them, they say, well, where is that written down? And you say, well, it's not written down anywhere. It's just something we all kind of believe, and that can be a problem. So whenever you're testing someone against a certain standard, you have to figure out where is that standard written, and where is it coming from, who agreed upon it, who wrote that. There has to be some way to test them. So often there's a mission statement that you can ask, do they believe in the mission? There could be a job description in which you ask, are they fulfilling their job? And then often there can be like a statement of cultural values against which you ask, do they fit in? Do they add to the culture? So this one, the lawyers who we've spoken to about HR say that this one about cultural values can be a very tricky question, especially if you are asking it in a way that is a proxy for gender or racial discrimination. So if you're saying, are they like aggressive, and really you mean like, are they masculine or something like that, then this is, you can't ask a question like that has certain outcomes. So, and that kind of discrimination can sort of embed in ways that we're not entirely conscious of too. On the other side, downstream, there has to be some sort of outcome. So in the worker co-ops that I worked for, we had the first two. We had standards, we had an evaluation, and it had no teeth. Nothing would happen if you failed the evaluation. So there's got to be an upstream and a downstream result, the outcome. And three things that co-ops often make as the outcomes are these three P's. Pay, so does their wage go up or down, or stay the same? Their position, can they get a promotion or come into some sort of senior ranking? And then peer pressure. So basically, are they going to be like treated poorly by their peers? And a lot of co-ops are using peer pressure primarily. I don't, if it works for you, that's great, but you should remember always that there's going to be someone in the group that is immune to peer pressure, who has been getting peer pressure their entire life for being a jerk, and they're like, I've been a jerk since I was 4. I'm not going to stop now. I know what that peer pressure is, and water off the duck's back. So peer pressure is not always, should not be the only route you take. So. A couple of other ideas for evaluations. There has to be some threshold for low performance. So if you do have a kind of a quiz, did they do their job? And you should know where the line is. If the average is that they get a 3, is 3 good enough? Is 3 not good enough? There should be some agreed upon standard so that if they get like less than a 3, automatically some action happens. Either get sent to the board for review, or maybe there's some sort of automatic thing happens. You have to know where the line is between adequate and inadequate, and what happens if they fall below it. And then lastly, a lot of co-ops are using peer evaluations, which can be a very good way of getting feedback, particularly around like the cultural fit and the mission standards. But they express difficulty in getting people to fill them out. Nobody really likes filling out evaluation forms, so there was a kind of recommendation to make them as simple as possible. So if you can have a front and a back, if it can take 20 minutes, or less, then you'll get more information, and then you have better feedback. So that's a kind of very simple framework. If you're not doing this and you're looking for a simple framework, you could have, the front be a couple questions on whether they're a believer in the mission, a couple questions on their job. The back could be some questions about whether they're a cultural fit, and then room for more information. So if your job description is like 100 different bullet points, you don't want to ask for pure advice on that many different things. You want to ask for the top key, most important things, and see what kind of results you can get. But one idea that is people said has been very useful to them in the cooperative world is to create performance improvement plans. Raise your hand if this is a familiar concept to you, performance improvement plan. Okay, so a lot of people know about this. It's a document that you agree with a person that has certain goals and certain milestones, and people really encourage that the action plan be this like SMART method, so specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And the thing that workers are really concerned about usually when you set a performance improvement plan is that you're setting them up for failure. So you're creating a plan just to get them out the door, an impossible plan that they could never fulfill. And so you want to have a bond of trust with them that you're not doing that you actually do want them to perform well. You're not just creating a legal infrastructure for terminating them. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay, great. I think we have to wrap up at this point. So this is, obviously this is like just, like I said, this is just a little bit of information about a lot of different things. So we are going to be putting together this publication of case studies that I think are rather interesting. This is like a 30 to 50 page report coming soon that we can send to everyone who's at this event that you can learn from other co-ops. Also, my organization has a library of resources, so if you're looking for personnel resources, you can go to institute.coop/personnel, and there are examples from the field, and some reports and some case studies and some templates that you could use, some good things. But basically, just touching upon, what is HR? And the main thing that I would like to encourage you to think about is, again, where are you investing your time and resources? Are you doing it to help people in? Are you doing it to keep people out? And why? Is there some trauma that happened that made you go in that direction? Or are you thinking carefully about what you want to do? So, great. Thank you very much.